All right. Well, since we are recording, wow, that seems loud, doesn't it? Yeah, is it fine? Okay. Yeah, it's very sensitive today. Don't hover over your microphone. Call the meeting to order, and we'll get rolling this morning. Thank you for coming. Do we need?
We need roll call.
Yes, we need roll call.
Susan Fowler, Neil Sharma,
Here.
Kim Fisher, here. Ann Robin, here. Vicky Nicewander, microphone.
Of course, first it's really loud and then it's non-existent. Okay, next thing on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any additions or deletions? No. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Went off again. I'm going to switch to the other mic. See if that will work.
Start you off.
Yeah, exactly right. Microphones all around. Okay, so we have the agenda approved. The meeting schedule is in the folder, as are the allocation timeline. The acronyms and glossary is online. Citizen input is the next thing. Do we have any folks out in the audience who would like to speak this morning? I don't see anybody jumping up, so we'll just move on. Next thing are chairperson's comments. I guess that would be me. I do have kind of a disclosure to make today, in that for a couple of years now, our family has been looking to relocate to Colorado to be closer to our younger daughter. And this is kind of our long-term plan for our daughter, Annie, is that she be close to her sister so that when we're not here anymore, that she will have somebody near to take care of her. So the plan is we're going to go to Colorado. We're going to get her set up in an apartment as she is now and make sure that she's good to go with services there, which are by far better than Illinois. We actually spoke to them last year when we were there on vacation, and they said, well, there would be a bit of a wait for services. And I said, how long would that be? Thinking, 10 years like it is here. And they said it would be about 2 weeks.
Wow.
That was my reaction too. I laughed out loud, and they said the only thing that keeps her from getting services right away is that you have to switch from Illinois Medicaid to Colorado Medicaid. That's what takes the time. There is no waiting list.
Whoa.
So we had made an offer on a house and it was accepted, but there were some issues, and it looks like this deal may fall through. If it does, we'll probably be here until spring. If it doesn't and we get the house, then it could be another, we're thinking maybe mid-December that we might be having to leave town. So just FYI, I don't want to, this has been something that's been in the works for us for a long time. And I have thoroughly enjoyed working with all of you and being here. We would completely miss Champaign, Urbana if we left. And it looks like we're going to eventually, but just know that it's not anything, against any of you. It's a family plan. So there you go. That's my comment.
Thank you.
Executive Director.
Thank you, Vicki. I want to keep it really brief. This might be a short meeting, maybe not, but just to say that I know there might be some concern on this side of the table about what happens if the president leaves before the next election. I think that you can have interim elections. So you have to have an election in July. That's in the law. But I think it's okay if something happens that you could have it. So We have a vice president. You've served as president before and it was great. But we might want to add,
Look at her
Right?
excitement.
like, if you're not into it. So we'll talk about that. But anyway, so I don't really have a,
Will we need another board member to be?
Yeah.
I've already kind of recruited. so-
Okay. Of course you have. Thank you.
yeah, there are already a few applicants on
Mhm.
file. So I'm confident that you won't have a vacancy for very long,
There are a lot of talented
Yes.
people in this community, so I don't think that's going to be an issue.
including some who filled out the application form.
Yes,
So we're-
exactly right.
We're trying to stay ahead of it. I think that there are probably opportunities during this meeting for more comments from me, especially maybe about the expo. It's been a long week, a
Mm.
long couple of weeks for us, so I don't want to wear us out anymore. I'll stop there. Okay.
All right. Moving on, we need to approve the board meeting minutes from last month.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. And any changes there? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That one just went off too. Okay, that's going to be something to look for. Okay,
Was that motion for the minutes from the last meeting?
yes.
Could you do a separate motion for the minutes from the joint study session?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Okay, we need a motion for the September 24th study session to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Okay, anything need to be changed there? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, where are we? Vendor invoice lists. Those need to be approved as well. So we'll need a motion.
I move to approve the vendor list.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. You guys are way ahead of me. Any questions or changes? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? No. Okay. All right. Staff reports are in the packet. As always, they are doing a fantastic job of keeping engaged in community activities. Are there any questions for staff on the packets? Okay, hearing nothing, I'm going to move on to new business, the med launch presentation. Yeah.
So thank you to all the staff. Your reports are amazing. And just a special, well, shout out to everyone. I hate to point out, but Lynn, I think this report, I don't remember your report being like this, but just, it probably was. I just don't remember, but just understanding like the work that you're doing and how it aligns to our goals, that was like super helpful. So thank you.
Are we ready?
Can I ask to share my screen?
You know what? You would have been able to if I was moving faster.
Can I send it to you?
No, you can do it. I just needed to unshare
Gotcha.
first, and I was having a hard time with buttons over here. I apologize because you're ready, and we're very excited to have this presentation today. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. On behalf of all the MedLaunch exec, my name is Vince Perez, and we are grateful for the opportunity to present to you guys today about our club RSO on campus called MedLaunch. So who are we? We are an RSO that spends a full academic year working on 6 projects that solve accessibility related problems. We work directly with our community partners, staying in constant communication and using their input throughout the process to design, whether that be devices or little products that bridge the accessibility gap to do fun things or solve a problem that they have in their daily life. Not only that, but we learn about disability culture on our campus. As some of you probably know, University of Illinois is very inclusive, or one of the most inclusive campuses in the nation, and we are advocates of that inclusion on campus as well. Not only that, we also have professional development, disability advocacy, and socials. So we are focused, or what we do is all based around the concept of human-centered design. The steps are outlined. First, we empathize, we define the solution, define the problem, we ideate for that problem, prototype, test, and then in between each of those, we go back with our community partner to see how they feel, what can we change and make it tailored to them specifically. Because we want to ensure that accessibility is always there, increasing that individuality for everyone. We want to give the most amount of benefit for the greatest number of people. Even though we do have 6 projects throughout the year, we're hoping to expand. We have around 10 people per project. So yeah. And then an example of a project that we actually had this last year, I spearheaded this project. It was called Empower Art. We partnered with one of the special education classrooms on campus through the Fine Arts Magnet School, Stratton Elementary. We worked with a teacher, her name was Miss Faroki, and she had a student that was a wheelchair user, and she also had limited upper arm mobility, but she really loved to paint, and we wanted to cater that to her. So what we ended up doing is we made a wheelchair accessible easel, as you could see by the little rainbow colored thing with the little the little whiteboard with a piece of paper attached. We made that out of PVC pipes and we catted a design. And we also made a 3D printed headband that she could wear that held a little paintbrush that she could paint with, and her teacher or her helper would help her paint. So that just provided her some accessibility to actually do the things that she liked to do. And the smile on her face was so awesome, seeing her being able to paint at the end of the year, dropping it off. It was truly amazing. And one of the things that kept me coming back, as this year I am the head project lead, which is in charge of ensuring that teams are staying on schedule, making sure that they are keeping their deliverables on time, keeping in contact with the community partners, and making sure that we deliver all our projects at the end of the year so that we can bring the most benefit to the most amount of people. And that kind of concludes my presentation. If you want to work with us, you can find us online at MedLaunch UIUC verbatim. It should be the first link that pops up when you look it up. You can also contact us at that email listed. You can also contact my phone number. My personal phone number is right there. I also have little pamphlets that I can hand out to anybody that's interested. They're in my backpack. Let me just grab them real quick. So after this, I'll leave this out. And if you guys would like to pass this around, or we have about 40, so there's a bunch. And all the information to contact us is on there. Just scan the QR code, and we would love to work with you guys someday. If you know somebody or have a project in mind, doesn't matter the scope of the project. One of the projects that we're working on this year specifically, we are working on a adaptable or accessible board game for people that cannot readily sit still. So we're trying to make different games and adapt that so that's easier for them to play. Something that I'm part of this year is we are working with somebody that uses a G tube, feeding tube, and we're making a holder for them so they're easy, so the nurses are more readily accessible to feed him, and so they don't have to hold the syringe for the feeding tube. So those are just some of the projects that we're working on this year. We hope to expand in the coming years, and we're fully funded through the university in our own efforts. So it's something that we have been developing over these past 5 years since we're a relatively new RSO on campus. But yeah. And next one is questions. Any questions? Yes.
Well, this sounds fabulous, and I commend you for the work you're doing. Could you tell us a little bit about the background of the students? Are you with engineering, with education, with social work, with medicine?
That's a great question. Yeah. We have people from all 6 or 7 colleges on campus. So we have engineering, we have design, pre-med, any pre-health, psychology. So we get everybody. So it's great. We have and I think that's one of the strong suits of our club is that we have everybody from different backgrounds and we're able to bounce ideas off each other. Everybody's background's so different that we are able to, more cohesively come up with solutions instead of being so straight focused because everybody's an engineering major, right? So that's one of the great things about this club. What else could I say? Yeah, I mean, any other questions? Yes.
So this is really exciting. Thank you. And I love seeing the collaboration with the community, in particular Stratton, in that classroom has had, staffing issues and accessibility issues for a very long time. So it's excellent. One thing as you were talking, I was thinking, we have kind of talked a little bit about how like inaccessible our digital materials are. So like our packets, our board packets, like they're not necessarily screen readable and or just the content is very dense and it really may be inaccessible to the people we're really trying to support. And so I just wonder, like I was just thinking about a project that would be great for us as a board is to partner with you guys to somehow to automate like accessible content, like put it in plain language or easy read.
Oh, awesome.
And then send it to folks who get, in the community who have IDD. That would be an amazing project. But that's just me.
perfect.
I'm just
Yeah.
one person on the board, I should say. So I don't know.
No, I totally understand. We had a project 2 years ago. We made an accessible like phone app that you could scroll on iOS and Android for people. I think it was like a puzzle app or something like that. However, we pull from different backgrounds. So we have technical backgrounds. So this year we are we have a lot of ECE majors, so electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, computer science. They're working on a project for somebody that has, he has limited use of his eyes. So like he can't see as well and he loves to swim. So we're trying to make him a project that when he veers off the line in his swimming pool, it will direct him back onto the line. So that's something that we're definitely open to doing for sure for the upcoming semesters. Since it's a full year project and we have our projects already, maybe next year that would be an amazing project. But I will definitely bring it up to our exec. Keep it in the noggin for when I talk to them after this. But yeah, yes.
Excellent presentation. I just have actually a comment rather than a question. Your 5 things start with empathize, and I've never, ever seen that before. Never seen that on any presentation. And I want to commend your group for doing that. And I think I'm going to incorporate that myself.
Thank you so much.
I have a project for you too, a very challenging one. We'll have to talk.
Perfect. Yeah, you have my number. I'll also share this presentation with Kim as well to share it out afterwards. But yeah,
Great.
thank you so much.
Much. Oh, okay.
It's more of a comment. I'm like, this is exactly like the College of Medicine's like objective. Are you getting enough support? I mean, how can we help?
I think, the projects we mostly fundraise our, like everything that we use comes from fundraiser or from the university, and we have more than enough. So if we're always looking for more, donations, things like that. We have donations from different like clubs from like the Illini Dads Alumni Association. They gave us some money for our efforts. So we're always open to it. We won't say no, but if in terms of we're not insecure or anything like that, but yeah, like we're secure enough to fund our projects, and we will have enough money in perpetuity to fund those projects.
Very nice. You're done? Okay. Thank you so much. It was really, really interesting and great work that you're doing.
Of course. Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, let's see. Draft revised CCDDB funding requirements, page 38 to 57. no action necessarily.
No,
This
don't
is-
you love these transitions from like
I know,
like
from
into-
something really fun.
way now we're like way down. Oh, I do. Can I comment? After all, I said I want to, and then I said I did. I forgot. What is his name? Vince. I wanted to tell you that just to suggest turn around and meet 11 people, maybe there's 12 now, 11 people who are very committed to accessibility for people with disabilities, and they are almost all of them working directly with people. So there might be opportunities for all kinds of innovative projects with those folks. That I just wanted to mention that because they were behind you.
Oh, you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine, but I unplugged Lynn.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you.
I'm an old.
I know. I know. I just, there's no.
Sorry.
So yeah, to get to the really exciting stuff, are you guys ready for this?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
There's
So
two,
ready.
yeah, there's a new item and an old item that are probably equally thrilling for you. But I do want to confess, Chris Wilson is on the Zoom. The proposed changes to these funding guidelines came from Chris. They were also primarily at the request of CPA firms who are actually involved in creating the audits for agencies, so they do know what they need for us to do differently. Chris is available to give the background. When I was going in here, I asked other staff to take a look, and we were mostly satisfied with where things are at right now. I found a few things I thought could be more clear. So if it doesn't look like it came from a CPA, then it was probably just like an English teacher idea. So anyway, I don't know if Chris is ready to talk about it. If you have any questions, we are not asking for you to vote on it today because I wanted to make sure that it's public so that the 11 people in the room who are affected by it and anyone else, any other agencies who might tune into this have an opportunity to tell us if there's anything else we should change. And also so board members have an opportunity to speak with me or email me privately about anything in here anything else you want to change. But we can talk about it today too.
So, Chris, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I guess I'll just jump in here. These are pretty minor updates. These are just basically to clarify a few things. We've had a few questions about the location of certain items in the funding guidelines, just to clarify, and just kind of update them to things that are actually happening. So to get the guidelines up to date with what the agencies are actually doing.
So can you summarize say the most important changes here?
Well, the very first bullet point there is updating the capital expenditure limit. The limit is actually 2,500, but the guideline hadn't been updated. So we're just updating that to reflect what it's
Yeah,
actually
right.
what the limit actually is. I would say another major change or significant change is the last bullet point where we're moving the location of the financial accountability checklist in the guideline because where it was placed before, some people interpreted that as being only for those agencies completing an audit as opposed to everybody.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, those clarifications seem pretty standard language to me. Does anybody have any comments or questions on this?
Chris, this is Kim Fisher. So thank you for clarifying that last change because I was like, it looks like to me that the lists were the same pretty much, and so I was confused. But although there might be, I think there was yeah, I didn't notice anything different in those two sections. It's on page 55 or 54, 55.
Mhm.
Did you add anything in that list for the independent CPA report? It
No,
just was
nothing.
moved.
Nothing was added or changed with that list. It's just where it was placed in the funding guidelines. There was a
Oh.
section right above it that said for audit only. And so when people were reading that, then they interpreted that to mean that the checklist was also for audit only. And that's not the case. Everybody needs to do the checklist. So we're just moving the location of the checklist in the guidelines so that it is appearing before the section that says for audit only, so people don't interpret that the wrong way.
That's great. Thanks for that
Makes
clarification.
complete sense. Yeah. Any other comments?
Yeah, I just want to say that this is not my area of expertise by any means, and I found this very easy to read and understand, and I had some questions which took less than 5 minutes with Lynn to get clarified, so I think you've done a good job.
So, Chris, I'm mostly sharing this with you. One of the things that Anna and I talked about before the meeting was here where we have, after each category of audit, financial review, or compilation, we have some language about the maximum cost that could be charged to the boards to the DD board if there's no other funder requiring one. And so we just talked about a couple things around that. The fact that people may need more money to pay for audits. That has come up, and we understand that that's just a special request or a notification. And then the other part of that was, what was it? Oh, that you write notes about that in the reviews of applications about whether an agency has identified enough money to pay for an audit. Like, I know we didn't always make those notes, but you have been doing that for the last 3 years, I think. So that if a board member were interested in that aspect, they could find it in the application and they could find it in your review. So that was what we talked about.
So what I understood is that agencies budget for the audit as they put in their application. I was a little confused reading this, that I said, I don't remember voting for extra money for people. It's not, it's a given that is expected.
Anything else? Thank you, Chris. Very helpful. All right, moving on to the budget. I believe we are in a position where we're going to approve the changes to the budget, which is starting on page 58 in the packet. Is there anything we need to know about this before we make a vote?
So for the DD board, there is no change in the overall revenue or expenditures. There's just a shift in the expenditures to cover a much higher than expected staff health insurance cost. And if you look at this across years, you'll notice that we're budgeting a lot more than we're spending. In that, on the screen, you can see 5002,001. This is how the DD board pays for a whole bunch of different administrative costs. You can see the description of all those costs in the mental health board budget, but you're paying about 42% of those costs. And if you look at the background, you'll see that we never spend this much. And this is typically we do tend to underspend in administrative costs for all the reasons, but there's also the issue of it's budgeted quite high because it's an estimate right now for a health insurance cost, and it's also optional. So not all staff take advantage of that health insurance benefit, but they have the right to. So we need to budget for it. Anyway, so just like when I was working on this, it's a really simple change, but I was like, my God, that's a big jump. But it isn't a big jump in reality. So I just wanted to make sure that I shared that with you, because I actually, the county board will be considering revised budgets tomorrow. So I needed to get this to you today. And before I could feel okay submitting the new numbers to the county, I had to spend a lot of time figuring out, like, it's mathematically correct, it's logically correct, but it sure looks weird. So if you, just in case any of you were wondering, it does look weird. So anyway, that's the answer.
So I think it's probably best to have a motion and a second on this, and then we'll open it up for discussion then. No, I asked for you to comment, so it's fine. Do we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the attached revised 2026 CCDDB budget with anticipated revenues and expenditures of $5,689,961.
And a second.
I'll second. This is Kim.
Comments and questions, please.
I'm not surprised that health costs may go up, and I think it's smart to plan for higher expenditure, whether it occurs or not next year.
I think we all
So
need to
I
be
think
worried
you're,
about
yeah,
that.
I think you're being conservatively on the mark. Thank you.
Others? Are we ready for a vote? All those in favor say aye. Oh, it's a roll call, money. Oh my gosh, yes. All right, roll call, please.
Neil Sharma,
Yes.
Susan Fowler,
Yes.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Ann Robin,
Yes.
Vicky Nicewander,
Yes.
and Neil Sharma, just in case my microphone cut off before I said Neil Sharma.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And then for fun, so before we move off of this, my most favorite topic, I wanted to show you the way the county shares these budgets. So everything we do is shared publicly, but the county also has a version of it, and they use a software that I will say, please don't tell anybody, but some of them hate using this software, but man, it's pretty. Like it's a really nice looking document. Just so I put it in your packet so that you can enjoy it, and I can tell them, you guys, your pain is worth it. Okay.
Okay, moving on to input from people with IDD. Would anybody like to offer any input to the board at this time? Paula, did I see your hand up? Come on up. Staff for, oh, well, she is, but. Okay, all right. So yeah, more agency related. Okay, that's fine. Response to emerging threats. Where are we with that? There are so many.
That I had fully planned to put together some kind of resolution, a formal resolution based on the really amazing comments you all made last month, but it was such a grind, and I've not written a lot of resolutions, so I usually put things I'm not confident about, like way last on my list. So this is more of a form of a question. Is this something that you want to do? And if you want a resolution, especially to close out the year, November might be your last meeting of the year. What would the therefores look like? Because you've given me some really beautiful whereases. It's what is the message to share out past the whereases, like therefores, what should others do?
I'll be glad to have private conversations with you about that, as you know, over the next couple weeks. I didn't see the November meeting in this list of agendas. Is the November meeting in there?
It's posted online. The 2026 meetings are in this packet because we had to keep changing the schedule. The 2005 meetings are online, and the meeting is November 19. and it's in the small room instead of this room. So we're going to have, we're going to yell, I guess. We're going to figure it out. Okay.
So then I'd be happy to work with Ann and you on that too. So Vicky, so I had a question and I forgot that when we went over it. So I don't know if we can go back or if I should wait for board member comment, but I had a question about Chris's budget on page 30.
Go ahead and ask right now.
Okay. Chris, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, so I was looking at your budget report on page 3031, and it looks like through September 2024, our actual revenues were like 4.9 million. But right now, of this year, we're only at 2.8 million. And our expenditures up until now were 3.6 million last year, but we've expended 4.1 through this year. So I just wanted to know, like, how come we're not getting the revenues at the same rate as we did last year? Or would you have any ideas about that?
That's a great question. Unfortunately, the answer lies mostly with the treasurer's office. It has to do with the timing of their disbursements. And I know I saw an email recently where we have received another disbursement. So when you see this report again next month, that number is likely to be increased significantly. Um, I don't have any more information. I can contact them and see if they have an answer for what the delay is or you know what the discrepancy is between this year and last year, but I don't have a great
Chris,
answer
that
to
would
you
be
on that.
good if you don't mind. I can say for sure that the rate is exactly the same. It's not a change in rate as far as like percentage, which is a little bit, that's not what I was expecting this year. So I'm working with state's attorney's office and someone from the clerk's office, the tax specialist from the clerk's office, about what we expected this year versus what we see, but it's the same rate. If you meant the timing of the distributions, and Chris just answered that, I think that is a mystery. So there are a whole bunch of staff changes and there have been vacancies up there. So it's possible they're just behind in the distributions, but there is not supposed to be a big difference in collection rate.
So it sounds like it could be, because I think we had maybe discussed before that the amount that's being collected or whether or not that isn't on the radar just yet, right? It's just potentially just so Chris, if you could clarify, they're getting less property tax, people paying their property taxes, or it's just a timing issue. And then I guess I just wonder, like, this is worrisome if we're planning to disperse to agencies at a certain time period and we don't have enough money or enough money in the reserves. I guess maybe
This is why you have a fund balance goal of 6 months. And the DD board has not been at that fund balance goal for years and years and years. So we're trying to get it back up to that. That's a very large fund balance amount to have, but that's exactly why. And because our agency contracts are paid on a different cycle and they're budgeted on a different cycle than our own revenues and administrative expenses. So we have some protection against that, but that's only like a timer on bad news. So I think it's good, Chris, if you want to start a dialogue with them and learn what we can, it could be as simple as the ways that people can pay their taxes have changed and that there may be some impact on the collection schedule, but the rate that we're receiving is the same. So.
And I guess maybe a question for Jenny is like, maybe are these things reported in other departments? And is this more of a county-wide thing? And would the county board be addressing that?
That is not something I've heard, but I'm also happy to reach out to the treasurer's office and ask if it's a timing issue because that's my suspicion. I haven't heard of any large differences in the amount of tax being collected. If anything, I would think that we're experiencing, growth and have more available to us. But I will also reach out and ask.
Great. Thanks, Jenny. And thank you, Chris.
Okay, let's go ahead and do our update on Engage Illinois. That's next thing on the agenda. Engage Illinois was here in force for the Disability Resource Expo, collecting a lot of names for people who are interested in supporting it. They're looking for more support, more involvement from folks in central and southern Illinois. So if you believe that this is a worthwhile endeavor, it may be worth your time to spend an hour a month or something to help them promote and get names on the list. That's what they're looking for right now, is support so that they can go to the governor with 10,000 names on a list that say, we need change in Illinois. We need to meet the needs of people with disabilities. We need to meet the needs of people who run agencies. We need to figure this out so that we can move ourselves up from 48th out of 50 states to maybe 47th, if we're lucky. So, it's just really kind of sad that we are the 7th richest state in the country, and yet we cannot manage to afford to support people in a way that is meaningful for them in their lives. So that's what I'm asking of you now. Get people on that list and make a difference. It's better than doing a lawsuit. If we can work together and make it happen, it's really, really critical. So that's the update. With that, we'll go on to the evaluation capacity building project update.
Happy Hump Day, everybody. Good morning. So I have a couple of updates. I'm going to focus mostly on our updates for a workshop we just hosted, as well as new microlearning, which actually addresses one of the statements made last month about not wanting agencies to be selective about the data that they present. So that was already in the queue. So I'll be showing you that new microlearning today as well. Our technical assistance has been going really well, as it has been for quite some time. So there's nothing super new there. But the workshop that we just conducted was on storytelling, and we had 12 people coming from 11 different programs, and we solicited input prior to the workshop to find out what others would like to talk about in terms of storytelling, and we did organize activities as well as definitions around that input. So we talked about exigence, which I don't know if you know what that means, but essentially means creating that urgency when you're telling a story as to why this is an issue and why it's important right now. And then also talking about different audiences to which you might want to be telling your story to, and how you might need to adapt or change the way that you're presenting the information and telling the stories to different types of audiences. So we worked through several activities on that. So creating an inventory of who audiences might be and how you might want to craft the storytelling based on those different audiences. So including things like funders, taxpayers, potential clients, current clients, and so forth. So we worked through some of those activities. We also talked about how do you order the information so it's in a logical flow. And we actually had an activity where we cut up different components of a report that had been submitted, changed, and de-identified, just to give an exercise of how one can reorder and reshape a story so that has greater flow and meaning. So next steps, we received information too as part of our post workshop assessment, and we will be incorporating that information into future trainings, microlearnings, and other activities. So we think it was very successful. I have a picture that I will show when I get the Zoom approval to show it, but I can pause there if you have any questions on the workshop, or I can move on to the photo and then also our microlearning. Okay, great.
Just so you know, you can always share unless somebody else is already sharing.
Okay, great. So here's a picture of the attendees hard at work with the 4 different activities that we were doing, one of the 4 activities. So this was where they were reordering and reshuffling a story to change the flow and to improve it in the way that they thought it needed to be improved. So. All right. Okay. So this is our new microlearning. Ooh, wait. I have to share audio.
In this video about outcomes reporting, we are going to discuss the importance of avoiding under and over reporting. One fundamental principle of effective evaluation is accuracy in reporting outcomes. An accurate account of outcomes allows you to track realistic progress toward goals, make needed adjustments so as not to overpromise and underdeliver, think critically about what your program is doing well and how to sustain it, and identify potential areas for improvement. One common tendency in outcomes reporting is to avoid reporting null or unexpected outcomes. We recognize that reporting these types of outcomes may be scary, especially when agencies are concerned that funding is tied to performance. But your funder most likely knows when reports have some of the common symptoms of avoiding null or unexpected outcomes, like omissions of important information, unnecessary information that distracts or makes excuses, overinflated results, and a lack of context that does not fully explain the why undergirding outcomes. Consider the example of a weather reporter. Even with bad news, like continued rain after an already rainy week, there is often relevant context for that report that can alter the evaluations one can make. Welcome, weather watchers. I realize that it's been raining for the past week, and one hallmark of rain is a drop in barometric pressure. But our barometric pressure could be on its way back up. Plus, I see what might be some sunny clouds off in the distance. And with the dip in the wind speed, plus, last week was super nice. So, I'm sorry to cut in. So, is it raining right now? It's important to consider this beautiful above average temperature. But what about... Okay, it's raining. Is there any other information that can explain the patterns we are experiencing? What about the drought last month? Isn't the total amount of rain this month about typical for this time of year? That's definitely important context. Notice the different ways the reporter tries to avoid acknowledging a seemingly unpleasant outcome. Our barometric pressure could be on its way back up, is unreasonably optimistic speculation. While the fact that last week was super nice is distracting unnecessary information that's beside the point. The reporter's statement, "I'm seeing what might be sunny clouds in the distance," is a form of sugarcoating that omits the most important fact. It's raining. These avoidance tactics are an issue because acknowledging seemingly unpleasant outcomes can be very valuable. Understanding why null or unexpected outcomes have occurred helps tell the full story about your program. They may provide context, like more time is needed to observe changes in knowledge, attitudes, and behaviors, or they may offer insights into programmatic changes. Grappling with these outcomes is a great way to learn about the program and move closer to continuous quality improvement. Spoiler alert, most funders want grantees to be successful and to help them succeed. But without the full and accurate story, they cannot help in meaningful ways. Here are some key takeaways when faced with reporting what seem like outcomes that do not align with your program's goals or planned benchmarks. First, Do not be hesitant to report outcomes accurately. What might seem initially like a negative outcome is valuable for learning about your program. Second, provide additional information in the report to help explain the context of the outcome. Finally, reflect on other considerations, like timing. Is it still too early to see a particular outcome, or is the outcome in some way expected? Participation. Is the program still working to find its target population? Or resources. Whether finances, infrastructure, or staffing, is more support needed to effectively run the program's activities? Consider alignment. Are your expected outcomes aligned with your program activities? Look at your program's logic model, its inputs, outputs, and outcomes, to determine if adjustments are needed. Thank you for watching.
So a huge shout out to Nate Underland, who is the actor and also wrote the script and makes this a reality. So, and he also led the storytelling workshop. So big shout out to him. So we welcome thoughts, feedback on any and all that I've reported today. Yes.
I just love what you're doing. I taught research methodology for years at the university. I would have very much benefited from some of these short micro lessons. People get so distracted by how and what to report, and you have really distilled it into a humorous as well as very cogent summary. And I'm anxious to hear what the people who watch the micro learnings give feedback to you about how it's improved their process. It's just,
Great.
You're doing a great job.
Well, thank you. We did ask before the workshop for people to view the microlearning and got some feedback, and everyone said it was useful, at least to some extent. So thank you for that information. And they're publicly available to anyone, not just for this project. So who knows, other research methods courses might use it. And thank you for that feedback. Yeah.
Other comments or questions? I have one. As a board, I think we want to encourage our providers to stretch and try new things on behalf of the people they serve. And this gives permission.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a really important piece of asking people for those ideas to make things better. So thank you.
Thank you. All right.
All right. Let's move on to, where are we now? Disability Resource Expo update. It was great. I was there. There are a lot of people there. So I don't know what all anybody has to say.
Yeah.
You've had
I think
almost recovered, I'm sure.
the day of, I think it, for the most part, went well. As with anything, there are some challenges in growing pains, and some of those pains are still in my back. I will admit that. I do think that because the event often goes off really well and we get to see people and it's a great time, I think we do sometimes lose sight of the struggles leading up to it. So I think Lynn and I are trying to make sure we don't lose those, so that we can make sure we address them, because a lot of times it is the same thing next year and we're like, oh, we forgot to address this issue. So I think we're trying to make sure we don't lose sight of those. Our coordinators did just send a survey to our steering committee, which I think will help all of us make sure that we can kind of keep track of what went well and maybe what we need to really hone in on for any future expo events. Thank you to those of you that were there. Several of you were there, so I welcome your thoughts and comments as well.
Go ahead.
I have really just a quick, I thought it went really well. My role as a volunteer was carefully defined. I appreciated that. I was really tired at the end. That's a good sign of volunteering. And the only feedback I would add is that not everybody seemed to understand that you could go all four directions in the mall. I mean, there were so many booths, and I had a few people say, there's not as much as last year. And so I said, well, did you go towards Macy's, Penny's, Dick's, et cetera? And they said, oh. And I don't know how you get around that, but it's just, I was surprised by that. The vendors were so pleased with the support they had. Lots of positive feedback.
Yeah, we had signs, and we even the coordinators even made some additional signs that were brand new this year to try to help people find. But as I was going around at the end and collecting surveys, I did find myself going, "Oh, I've already seen these people," and then going and turning and going the opposite direction because it's so easy to get turned around. And yesterday, as I was scanning exhibitor surveys, I saw some of the same comments that I get lost in the mall. When I was there scoping something for the coordinators a month ago, someone asked me if I knew where Auntie Anne's was. I was on the outside of the mall and I was like, yeah, it's in there. I literally have no idea how to tell you from the outside how to get to it. So it's very challenging for everyone to figure out where you're going, especially when there's all the extra stuff in the mall.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there, so people can easily get confused, I think, and that's just something that's going to be a part of that venue. I don't know that there's any way to fix it necessarily, but at least they have the space for us.
I had a question about the shuttle. How did that work out, and because the shuttle from the bus stop?
Yeah, Chandra's here. She spent the most time outside. I was thinking either yesterday or Monday while I was outside relieving Chandra. I think I saw only 4 people use it, but that was a short break. So if Chandra has more to say, she knows. She was there.
Yeah, good morning. So the shuttle idea was a nice idea. I just think that because of it rained and also I'm not sure how many people actually were coming to the expo on the bus. And then also the way that it was spread out, we're going to kind of have to look at maybe more stops because a lot of people just didn't want to wait the hour that it took for them to come around. Because even though it was every 30 minutes, it was every 30 minutes at one place and then every 30 minutes at another place, not continuously going. And so it's just those types of logistics that we're going to have to work out if we consider that option.
Thank you, Sean. Yeah, it would seem like, and the poster was a little confusing when people came in. I was like, it was a little hard to explain to them at first, but yeah, and I think a couple people made comments like, "Oh, it's not going to be around for so long." Yeah, so I like that idea. And is it still going to be at the mall?
But that was my favorite place in the whole spot, just because I like being outside.
And sitting by the tent.
Funny, because that's so funny. I thought,
yeah, I like to sit outside.
Is it okay if I comment? We have so Kim said it in a really lovely way, and I'll say it a little louder. It is a little too early for me to talk too much about the expo because I don't think some of us haven't really had a day off in a long time, and some of us haven't slept, and we had some very serious issues this year. So one issue that we've had 16 times out of 16 expos has to do with labor and how the labor falls and some of the tasks that end up being performed by a bunch of old ladies and then people using wheelchairs. And some of this is just not sustainable, and we have never been able to address it effectively. We might say, well, next year we'll do better, but then it's not better. So there's some things that I have to deal with that very serious issues over 16 years. Then there are some unique issues this year, including it may not be okay for us to be at Marketplace in the future because of Marketplace and MTD parting ways. The shuttle was donated effort, right, from DRES. And then it did require a whole new kind of emergency volunteer role. So that while I think it went off okay, and certainly no one died, which was what I was really worried about, like we're creating a real hazard, but that part, okay. But it's also true that every 16 times we've had some unique problem like that. So I don't know that we can always prepare for every possible unique problem. None of us is quite paranoid enough to do that. So where we go next is a really big question. This community has some lovely venues for gathering, but also a lot of competition for those. So we're already talking about that, and we're already talking about like what can we do differently to get our arms around some of these labor issues that have always been a problem. And then this year I also got some feedback, which I think we're seeing in some of the surveys too, about some ways the accessibility falls apart, particularly having to do with sensory processing disorders. And it was interesting to get this negative feedback myself, because for my entire life I have some kind of condition that gives me about 20 minutes in a mall before my brain falls apart. And apparently a lot of people like me don't come to the expo because they can't do it. It might be just binocular coordination, something, but I sit there for hours and then wonder why I can't think for the next 2 days. So I really do understand what people are talking about when they say there are some sensory issues we should address. I don't know how we can have a big event in a big place with lots of visual stimulation and not create a sensory problem for people like me. So, that's a whole different one. Like, do we need to explore alternative formats again, which we had some interesting projects in virtual expos. So anyway, that's just all to say, this is where we're at today. I do love the positive comments, and my goodness, it is like my favorite day of the year to sit out there and visit with people I don't get to see any other time. People who are like really important in the community or in my life. It is a big party for me. So I'm one of the champions that at the end of the day, I'm saying, let's do it again. But I have to be realistic that it's potentially unsustainable unless we make some changes now. Okay. And that has nothing to do with cost. I think this board and the other board are 100% supportive of this project. They always have been. It does pay off big. The community loves it. We have a lot of exhibitors who appreciate being involved in it. So it's really just figuring out how we do it. Okay.
Well, I think it's important for all the staff that were involved and the volunteers who were involved to like take a week off from thinking about the expo.
Okay.
Recover first and then come back and solve all those problems. But it's worth it if you can make it happen. It's really a great event. All right. Outcome summary, utilization and outcome summaries are included in the packet, page 85 to 99. Do we have any comments or questions about that?
Actually, I have one comment, and that is I haven't read it and I hope to read it, but I got my packet yesterday at 4 p.m. with the mail as it is. I did go online on Monday and Tuesday and read as much as I could online, but it's really hard to read online. So particularly as it goes horizontal in places. And that's nothing that you can solve for me. It's just a reality. And sometimes we may need an extra month to read things like that. So I feel bad I'm not saying anything because I'm sure I would have questions and comments, but what can I do?
Yeah, I agree. In fact, Lynn and I talked about the packets, and the problems with that earlier. And there are boards that use iPads for the board packets, which could alleviate some of that, but it's difficult to make notes on an iPad. So I don't know that there's any solution other than.
Don't have one to propose.
Yeah.
So we may need more time.
I have one to propose.
Oh, good.
Okay. Because the same thing happened to me last month. It happened to Susan this month. This month I got the thing on Saturday.
Wow.
But the previous month I didn't get it until Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So the US mail going forward is going to be unreliable. I like having a paper packet. I also look at the cost of the sending them out, which is not small. Why not have them available in the office, and
we could pick them
interested
up.
board members who want their packet, an email can go out saying packets available, stop by during office hours and pick it up. Most of us would be able to do that.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah. Yeah.
So just so you know, we do still, many of us still work a hybrid schedule. So there's not always somebody at the office, 8 to 4:30, there's somebody at the office, but you have to email us to let us know you're coming because we need to come downstairs and get you. And I think that would work fine. I am trying to get these packets done at least 9 days, 8 days before you need them for the meeting. The law is 2 days, but like they're so dense and there is a lot of stuff I want you to see. This is one of this is not boring. This is really cool stuff. I wanted you to have time with it, and I'm really sorry that it's not working that way. So I think your solution is excellent. Just let us know when you're coming, and we'll come downstairs and get you. And then you can come see the office too, because it's so pretty.
It is nice.
But yeah, and I think that would work just fine.
Okay.
But just to say, we also, it's not helpful to you, Susan, I'm sorry, but this is posted online. Kim has posted this on separately, not just in the board packet, but as a public report on the county website. And right, you put this on the county site, didn't you?
I'm not sure this one did.
Oh, you did the other one.
Performance outcome report did. I don't know that I don't know that we've ever posted this one on the county site.
It's on our application.
It's on our site, yes.
So, I mean, we can ask the county to post it too. We just had a long conversation about all that a few minutes ago. But anyway, it's available.
Yeah, I'm not complaining at all. I'm just observing that since I didn't know it was in the report, because I even though I went online, it's a 100-page document to read online. So I love the idea of coming and picking it up. That would alleviate most of my concerns. And then I would like to suggest that we provide some time at our next meeting in case there are comments about it, because I don't want you to think we're not reading it. It's just access was an issue this month.
So there's another document. Kim has this one, which is this is very summary level, but she has also put together, and I'm speaking for you, sorry, that she put together of all of the agency year-end reports. It is fascinating stuff that's unedited, what the agencies shared with us. That's also available online, and it's very, very long. So we wouldn't necessarily put it in paper, but I've been reading it, and like, just some of the care that people are putting into responding is so good. And then some of the things they discovered in the last year are really interesting too. So it is a lot to look at, but it's available year round.
So
Okay.
real quick, just so before, I just wanted to say like that the report was great to get, and it's just wonderful to see like how impactful the dollars that we approve to support folks in the community, and thank you to the agencies for sharing this information. So I mean, it is really great. That's the only comment I had. So.
Okay. Shall we move on to successes and other agency information? What have you got to share with us this month?
Yeah, okay, thank you. Pays it to add widgets this month. We will do that school of social worker on the unified gap is we put out a vote at photos on mental health on the test. And I continue to give out names to PS Tapioca Sumus.
How's your response been for that, Paula? How many people have you referred PSWs to, roughly?
Do you mean overall?
Yeah, and just a general, what's your thought on how successful this project has been?
Pretty good. We had we for 15 customers over the last 6 years.
Good. Any questions for Paula? All right.
Oh, I do.
Okay, you got one?
Paula, so I'm sorry. What did you say about the School of Social Work? I was taking notes, but I missed what you said. Can you repeat it?
They all do in introduce them to pains and the PS for you program and all also program.
So this was a recruiting effort then? So you were hoping to get some social work students involved as possibly PSWs?
Yeah, all like terms for pains.
Thanks, Paula. Was this at a class or was this?
Yes.
Awesome. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go on. Okay. I'm Becca with Community Choices. I just have a couple quick updates. So one is over the last many years, one of the sort of ways that we help people get connected is something that we call co-op clubs, which is basically just working with someone to try to find other people who have similar interests to them, and then build a system for sort of keeping that going, ideally on their own, often with a little bit of our support. We had 2 individuals who came to us who were both really interested in kind of the same thing and starting a club on the same thing, which was horror movies, so very timely. And so they are in the process of starting sort of a dually run club. And we kind of sent it out to folks in our membership. And then we do a quarterly family party. And so we had that a couple weeks ago, which was lovely. And I had a parent come up to me and they're like, my son came to me and while I think he was like looking at his phone or they were looking at it together. And he's like, my son texted them about this club. He's never texted anyone except for me. And so that just felt like, I was so glad he told me that, because a lot of times those like little sort of nuggets of success are things we honestly we don't see, which is great because they're just happening organically. But it was very nice and gratifying to hear it. So that was my main success. And then I'll just sort of piggyback off of what Paula said. Back in the middle of September, we hosted one of our co-op meetings and we invited Paula and Eric Enger from the PSW program to come and talk to our members and people in the community about the resources that PACE has in order to find PSWs. We work with think about 45 families who have home-based support who are, you know, at any point potentially looking for PSWs. And so it was really well attended. I think we had around 15 people there. They were very engaged. And so that was another, it's a great program. So I think that's it. Oh, just sort of in terms of the expo, I was in charge of helping coordinate the volunteers with a few other folks, including Chandra. And we were kind of doing a little bit of debrief over email yesterday, and she put together a really nice list of questions to send out to volunteers who participated this year to get a little bit of feedback directly from them. So I think that's going to be a really great sort of into the survey that just came in for the steering committee. So thanks.
I think there's somebody talking on Zoom, maybe. I don't know.
Hi, I'm Heather Livingston from DSC. I'm the Director of Case Management there. We wanted to speak with you today to share what has been happening lately with individuals who are getting pulled for state funding. These individuals have been on PUNS perhaps for years now, and when pulled for waiver services, Prairie Land is reaching out to us because they don't have evidence to support the IDD diagnosis. And before sharing these details, I also want to speak to access to the neuropsych assessments. Last month, board members mentioned the lack of access, and we wanted to share that CCDDB has funded psychological testing for some people who are seeking services to determine eligibility and allow access prior to state funding. It's written in our clinical grant that we will support psychological testing when necessary to establish eligibility, since PUNS enrollment is a criteria for CCDDB funding. The dilemma has been that to be on PUNS, they have to have the psychological. And there are people who apply for services that don't have that documentation. Those are the occasions that we're using the CCDDB funding supports for DSC to advocate and schedule for those assessments. It's been a lifesaver for some individuals who would otherwise not receive services while they're waiting for state funding, because as we know, that could take several years. We have had a handful of people receiving services for a long time that are unable to qualify despite having documents from IEPs or psychological testing if that documentation is not indicating that that diagnosis happened prior to 22. Prairie Land is trying to work with us and families to have us write letters of areas of need and support that we are providing, and that has been successful on keeping some people on the PUNS list, but it is becoming increasingly more difficult, especially for families that don't keep that documentation or have never had formal testing. And the schools no longer consistently are completing cognitive psychological testing for individuals unless they are meeting obvious criteria, which feels like a disservice and a judgment's being made prior to the testing. We know Prairie Land is doing what they need to meet state requirements, but wanted you to be aware that there may be a growing number of Champaign County residents who will fall through the cracks of getting services that they've relied on for years and or may never get services. I want to emphasize that we do understand that there will be those that don't qualify once they are pulled, and that we will not, be able to serve them because we have to close them due to the Champaign County funding requirements too. But this is more about people who do present that they're eligible and don't have supporting documentation regarding the age of onset, which sends them away from a lifetime of needed services. Getting that prior to age of 22, showing that that's happened, has been really difficult lately. And the biggest concern are those with people with autism who may be considered borderline DDD or dually diagnosed, that sometimes masks that DD diagnosis. This population is growing, and it's just a gap in service that we are really seeing. So it's just been a little bit of a hard road with that PUNS and documentation lately. Yes.
Can I ask, is the having you guys provide letters of support or document, is that, I'm imagining is that new, or is it okay?
It seems to be new. I mean, Prairie Land is asked, there doesn't seem to be a criteria for the letter either, because I've asked what needs to be in there, and they're like, how many years you've supported them and the needs, and we kind of look at those 6 areas that the state looks at for deficits to have. But they say that some people write really long letters, some people's are simple, but it seems to be helping people stay on the list and go through this polling process. But I mean, there's new names, I feel like, every day that we're trying to come up with documentation.
And I know that, like, just to even get on puns, they're
Yes.
requiring that even though people have medical diagnoses, as well as psychological testing, because the IEPs are not, because what they're looking at is right at the IEP, and if the IEP doesn't identify all the things, and from experience, certain school districts do not provide all the supports that they need, and they are not doing cognitive testing at all.
Right.
At all.
And it's really unfortunate because somehow at that level, we need to be stressing how important it is to get that documentation and evaluation done.
I wonder if, like, that's a conversation that we need to have, you know, so maybe some kind of statement at the school board meetings, like to let the school boards know. I don't know.
Okay.
I just wanted to add, if that's okay, some of the changes that we've seen is that for puns, to get on puns, it was always the assumption that they could qualify. They never required necessarily documentation, although we tried to gather that in the past. But now what we're seeing, and we started, RPC started trying to, in more recent years, get that documentation before putting people on puns. Now we're seeing, of course, people aren't getting on puns without that documentation first, which makes sense. People don't want to wait on puns to find out later they don't qualify. But also letters going out to people saying that if you don't have this qualification, or if you don't have the documentation, you can't stay on puns. So they're removing people from puns even before their pun selection if they don't produce the documentation. For some families, they're being told, particularly people with autism, that they need the diagnosis from when they were first diagnosed. So that documentation, which many families don't have. I just found this out last week, so I don't have a lot of details yet. We have someone who we work with who has an intellectual disability, but they also have autism, and they are still being told that they need the documentation from when they were first diagnosed with autism. So I haven't been able to verify that yet because I just learned about that. But yes, we've been talking about this. We're seeing the same things. I had more to say about this, and then my mind has went blank because I don't like to public speak. But it seems like the state is saying that there's not been any changes made, but they are definitely getting more stringent on providing the funding and keeping people on puns. Also, we're seeing pun selections where people can now just hold on to their pun selection indefinitely, which also poses a bit of a problem because with the funding through the DDB, it says that they need to take that funding within 6 months. So we're telling them, you have your pun selection, you have to make a decision within 6 months or you lose your county funded services, but they're not receiving that same message, I don't believe, from their ISCs. So we're giving them conflicting information as well. So it's a completely different issue, but there's just not, again, that collaboration too.
Is this policy coming from the State Board of Education?
I don't believe so. And thank you. That was the other thing I wanted to say. We used to be able as ISCs to write just really strong letters of support for people who have autism, but not the accompanying intellectual disability. And so in those letters, we would document their substantial limitations in all the major life areas. Now they're requiring the ISCs to turn in multiple IEPs across the lifespan to show how the autism manifested throughout their life. And of course, families don't have multiple IEPs or weren't told, for a lot of our families that we're working with now to save those. Of course, we're all telling families now to do that, but to save those, but that just wasn't an expectation before to have, all your IEPs. And so I don't think, from what I understand, I don't believe that was ever, nothing was ever changed. This is just the new expectation, informal expectation.
Well, and the problem we have is we have a lot of aging people and older people that have been on the list for a long time, and they maybe didn't have those type of services and definitely didn't have that documentation saved and don't have the families even there. Oh.
This is a really important conversation that relates to eligibility for funding and services. I don't think that it's really great for us to have a back and forth long discussion, but it would be, with the chair's permission, a really good full topic for the next board meeting so that everyone is prepared and so that the board can lead with questions like this. And you guys have, I'm not saying this to stop you from talking about it. I'm just saying that I think it needs to be elevated as quickly as we can. The board cannot use eligibility standards other than those set by the state unless they explicitly choose to. They can explicitly choose to. It would be good to have this conversation before you launch another application cycle. So the next board meeting, and is that
maybe
too soon?
Maybe with a representative from Prairie Land.
Love it. Is that okay? Yeah. That's not to say stop now, but I'm just saying where this is headed is very important. Can we make it formal? Okay.
Yeah, and I think we were just bringing it up too because, we are having to close some people. So there is just recognizing that gap that there is in services that's coming and growing.
And sorry, one question was, if let's just say they don't have it from like the past, would a current neuropsych test be sufficient?
It's not necessarily, they really want, somebody has to prove that that diagnosis happened before the age of 22. So I know we had a previous psychologist that did put onset in her psychological evaluation, and I think that's been really helpful. So we were going to also make sure the psychologist that we work with does put that in there, because I think if they can say the onset in there, then that would be good. But not all psychological evaluations will refer to that.
Really? They're supposed to. I order a lot of neuropsych testing. They're supposed to talk about biopsychosocial formulation. So starting with childhood education, stuff like that. Also, are you guys a resource where people can get connected with neuropsychologists? Because they're a rare breed, especially with child and then adults. And I have a few adults who are lacking some of that formal assessment.
I know that the psychologists that we contract with, I know there's different evaluations you do for certain things. Like we're kind of really just looking at IQ testing for our individuals. So sometimes depending on what they need, but we have worked with her before to get a family hooked up because the Social Security psych eval is usually written a little bit differently too. And she has done that for a family. So depending on, I guess, what they want the outcome to be, sometimes can be different too.
Yeah.
I was just going to echo what both of you say. I really appreciate it. I actually have a Post-it on my desk about this very issue with lists of names of people that we're just very, very concerned are going to lose access to services because they've been pulled and they're in that process and they're being told they need documents from 40 years ago that do not exist anymore. So I appreciate you bringing it up, and I'd love to be part of a conversation about it.
Heather, thank you very much for bringing it up.
I have an agenda item for next month. Yeah. Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, before the.
Just to say that was an unexpected important agenda item, and we try to announce agenda items in advance. So if it's okay with everybody, I do think we need to return to it. Thank you.
Any other announcements from our agencies? Thank you for all that input. It's always very important to us to hear. Obviously. Okay, we're at county board input.
Good morning. I want to say I already emailed Treasurer Clark and got a response from him asking if you know the date of the last disbursement. I don't know if this is something I should coordinate with Chris Wilson on, or if if there's somebody else from the board that I could reach out to with questions.
Chris also asked, and he has a potential answer to share.
Oh, good. Okay. I don't know if I want to, I would love to just cede my time then to Chris and see if he's willing to let us know.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'll jump in here. So I did some digging, and the first thing that I noticed is at this same time last year, there had been about 5 distributions made. Looking at this year, there's only been 2. So I emailed my contact at the treasurer's office, and she replied that last year they were doing monthly distributions. And I think that seems to imply that they are not doing monthly distributions this year. So I followed up with asking if collections are still on track. She said collections are still going strong. She even offered me a job over there to help them with the collections.
No.
But she seemed to indicate that there's no reason to expect that collections will be down, that our revenues should be approximately what we budgeted. And she said that to expect a final distribution in mid-November. So whenever you guys meet after November, whether it's December or January, my report should reflect a much increased number.
Chris, so this is Kim and Jenny. Thank you. I think, and thank you to your contact in the treasurer's office. I just think that emphasizes how great our the county employees are and how responsive they are. So thank you, because that was a big concern. So thanks to all.
All right. Champaign County Mental Health Board.
Okay. They're meeting tonight. It's a very similar agenda, but also, and this is by way of an announcement, you have a study session with them next week. And you can attend it virtually if coming over in the evening is difficult, but
You're echoing on the
I
computer.
know. I don't know why. There we go. Sorry. That was when I tried to turn the video on, I turned the audio on. See, I can't be trusted with these machines. No, just to encourage folks that this joint study session next Wednesday at 5:45, planned by the Mental Health Board with DD Board in mind as well. Should be really interesting whether you attend in person, on Zoom, or just watch the recording later. It's a pretty important issue. We did have Department of Homeland Security in the building yesterday.
Oh.
So just so you know. Anyway, yeah. So they didn't visit us. But anyway, there's no really other update from the Mental Health Board. Similar business, but they haven't got to it until later today.
Okay.
Okay.
All right then. Okay. So board announcements is next. Any announcements to be made?
Oh, I just had a question. Word is out that, November 1st, folks are going to lose their SNAP benefits. So I guess I don't really understand. I know I was just reading the email from DDD, I think yesterday or something. They said something, they, made an announcement. So I guess I just don't know how that affects folks that were supported. I mean, I understand how it affects folks in general, but yeah.
So the state was considered, they have a figure for what, and maybe Kim remembers. Were you at that meeting? No, you were there, but you were doing something else. It was my meeting. Okay. I heard the amount and it just went out in my head. What it would cost the state to pick up the tab for lost SNAP from November 1 till ? And they won't ever be reimbursed for it. And it's pretty much like a huge budget crunch. So I don't think the state's going to do it, but it was nice to hear that they've talked about it. I have not heard of any solutions. There's no email blast right now about a change. Okay.
I do know that Claudia Linhoff has put together a listing of local food banks, resources for people. First Followers also put something together. I asked if I could share it with our larger group. I've not yet heard back from them. I'll reach out again today.
They've posted it online.
Okay,
so I
then
imagine
share
it's
it.
shareable. But like that's really great, and yay for communities pulling together. But there are a lot of people who have disabilities and food sensitivities for whom donated food is not a go. Like the SNAP benefit is really life for many. So
And it seems to me that all this should probably fit under emerging threats again. But, it just, that number of threats just keeps increasing over time. And it's really discouraging to see it happen. Okay.
Leon has put it into thank you, Leon. You were at the meeting and you remember the number 350 million for the state to pick up the tab on SNAP. It is a rich state. Maybe they'll do it. What rules apply anywhere? So,
rules are old.
Yeah.
Okay. Gosh. Okay. Well, we're going to enter into closed session at this time, unless there are other announcements.
We get to leave. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Get out, Neil. We're entering into closed session for semi-annual closed session minutes review pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C21. The following individuals will join this closed session: members of the Champaign County Developmental Disabilities Board, Executive Director Canfield, and Associate Director Bowdry. Oh, but not Kim. Okay. Kim's going to stay here. Okay. All right. So we need to vote on this.
So Vicky made the motion.
Thank you.
Do you want to do a roll call for this? For just the vote to go?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's do a roll call.
Susan Fowler. Kim Fisher.
Yes.
Vicky Nicewander.
Yes.
Okay. We will move into the Putman room, which is right there. And
Okay.
the time is 10:38. And I will meet you out there.
All right.
All right, I'm going to end the recording of the closed session. All right. It's 10:43.
Well, we still have some people hanging on.
Yeah.
All right. So we are back in open session and we are looking for a motion to
roll call.
Oh, roll call first. So might have changed.
So, oh,
Here.
Your mic is off. Your mic is
oh my gosh. Susan Fowler,
Here.
Kim Fisher,
Here.
Vicki Nicewander. Okay.
here. Okay, mics are on. We're ready to go. We're entertaining a motion to keep our closed, to resolve our closed meeting minutes.
I move to maintain the confidentiality status of the minutes from the prior meetings, February 19th, 2020, February 19th, 26th, 2020, July 21st, 2021, February 23rd, 2022, as identified to maintain confidentiality, to maintain the closed status.
I'll second that. Are we ready for a vote? Individual roll call?
Susan Fowler made the motion.
I seconded.
Vicki Nicewander seconded. Let's do another roll call.
Okay.
Susan Fowler,
Yes, approve.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Vicki Nicewander. All right.
Yes. Okay.
So did it.
So at what time is it? Meeting is adjourned at 10:45.
10:45. All right.
Longer than I thought it would be, but
Yeah.
here we are.
I know.
Extremely